Good morning, YouTube. It's Monday, March 1st. Happy March. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we will be going over chapter 4 of Toshiro Kageyama's Lessons in the Fundamentals of Go. Chapter 4 is a bit long, but it's pretty vital, as with chapter 3 and the rest of the book, really. But yeah, strap in and, enjoy the reading experience. Chapter 4. The struggle to get ahead. There is a certain kind of racehorse that can settle the outcome of a race at the starting line. Let him dash out to a good start and take the lead, and although the other horses may draw even with him from time to time, if he runs true to form, you don't have to watch the race to know who will win. What does this have to do with Go? The stones do not run along on four legs, but the struggle to get ahead occupies an important place in the game. When opposing stones touch each other like this, the question of who gets ahead and who falls behind can decide who takes the lead in the whole game. In spite of this being such a critical position, one often sees beginners leave it as is, both sides forgetting about it as they trade moves elsewhere. Watch a stronger player's game. You will rarely see a row of black and white stones like this, lined up shoulder to shoulder, left to stand is. How should black play if he has Sente? If he plays A, he's getting one step ahead of white alright, but then white plays B. If black keeps straight on with black C, white D, black E, white F, he gets a straight line of stones, but so does white. If they continue in the same way to the left edge of the board, the end result is the same as if white had started at B, followed by black's A, white D, black C, etc. It doesn't matter who takes the lead. This is not the way to get ahead. We will have to modify our thinking. The real meaning of getting ahead is bending around the enemy's leading edge. If black realizes that, he will use his turn differently. He will bend around white's edge with 1. The proverb that says to hane at the head of 2 stones without even looking refers to situations like this. White 2 to black 9 show black playing very conservatively, but even so, he is opening out grandly at every step, while white is retreating at every step. Not only that, but white cannot really expect to get away with this sequence. Somewhere along the line, black will cut at A, and white's position will crumble. Diagram 3. If white has Sente, he will play 1 to 7. Black can crawl on the second line, the line of defeat, all he wants, and white will answer him gladly at every step. Compare this diagram with the last one. The more you look at them, the more forcibly the difference strikes you. There should be no need to explain the meaning of getting ahead any further. Diagrams 2 and 3 are enough. Diagram 4. What black must be careful of in playing his hane at 1 is the cut at 2, which is the only counterattack white can muster. Here, white 2 ends in simple failure as black plays 3 and 5, but there are times when it is not so. When you hane, be prepared for the cut, or your hanes will frequently get you into unexpected trouble. Diagram 5. This shoulder-to-shoulder formation arises in actual play when white invades immediately at the 3-3 point under black's 4-4 point stone. If white cuts with 5 at A, black 5, or 6, means trouble, or rather, disaster for him. The sequence walks itself out to 12 and comes to a pause, with white getting actual profit and black getting outer influence. Whose result is better? That should go without saying, but I'll say it. Black's is definitely better. For that reason, white never invades immediately at the 3-3 point under a black 4-4 point stone, except in special circumstances. Players with a little experience invariably know the sequence in which black presses with 1 and 3 and white answers with 2 and 4. It is a joseki. Few people, however, seem to know the real meaning of these moves when they play them. What is black trying to do with 1 and 3? The answer is the same as in the last position. He is trying to get 1 step ahead of white to gain the advantage. Hearken, ye who casually play white 4 just because it is the joseki, and learn its true meaning. Why bother? The move is the same whether you know what it means or not. Yes, but that is why you don't improve. Try playing moves you understand for a change. For one thing, it will make the game twice as interesting. Black 3 goes one step ahead of White 2. To even the score, White goes one step ahead of Black at 4. If White plays 4 at A, followed by Black B, White 4, Black C, etc., he will never get ahead of Black. Of course, when he jumps ahead to 4, White has to worry about Black A, White D, and the Black cut at E. But if he has an answer ready to that, then he wants to try to get ahead at the earliest possible moment, namely 4. His answer is on the next page. Diagram 7. If Black pushes through and cuts with 1 and 3, White stubbornly connects at 4 and wins the fight through 8. Provided he has read this out, he is safe. If he still feels uneasy, however, he might find himself in the next diagram. Diagram 8. Isn't it alright for White to crawl just one more time at 1 and then jump ahead to 3? No, it isn't. You have to take the earliest possible opportunity to get ahead. Diagram 9. In that case, when Black makes his first pressing move at 1, although there may be some risk, why doesn't White jump ahead with 2? That's naturally worth considering. All I can say is that it depends on the time and circumstances, or rather, that it does not do to play thoughtlessly and at random, or just to depend on intuition. In this local encounter, White 2 is unplayable. That is a definite fact. Diagram 10. Here's why it's unplayable. Black 1 and 3 definitely work now, which means White's position is clearly bad. If White plays 4, Black cuts at 5, and if White connects at 6, Black captures the corner with 7 and 9. White certainly cannot play this way. Black must not cut at 6 instead of 5, however, or White will gladly capture the cutting stone and get a ponnuki. Diagram 11. When Black plays 5, suppose White follows the proverb about capturing the cutting stone with 6. The outward might Black gets from 7 and 9 gives him an unquestionably superior result. If the latter is against him, he should first play a ladder block to establish it, then embark on 1 and 3. Diagram 12. Accordingly, White has to reply to Black 3 by connecting with 4, but the thick wall Black gets gives him fine momentum. White's position is low and lacks momentum. This is not a very good result for him. Diagram 13. Having gotten a step ahead of Black with 1, is White going to hold his advantage? What will be the result? Black will push onward with 2 and 4, but White has a firm grip on the lead and bends around him with 5 and 7, a double hane. By now we are into moves that beginners should not lightly imitate, but White is developing beautifully in full swing. Looking back to Diagram 6, we see that although Black certainly seemed to be one step ahead when he made his original pressing moves at 1 and 3, White 1 in Diagram 13 has turned the tables on him. Black has to select the occasion for his pressing moves with care, or he might just end up giving White a huge amount of profit. If Black could stay forever ahead with his pressing moves, then all players would use them more often. One of the reasons they are not played constantly is that White can turn the tables with 1. Diagram 14. This is an actual game from a professional tournament in March 1970 between Masao Kato, currently a leading star in the Go world, and Reiko Kitani, now Reiko Kobayashi. She had Black in this game and won by resignation. Black 1 and 3 and White 2 and 4, leaving gaps open everywhere, may seem like a very dangerous way to play, but both players were struggling to get ahead in full awareness of the risks. Look at the way they fought for the lead up till Black 23, and you will have a glimpse of what professionals go after, and how they think. After the game, it was decided that Black got an unsatisfactory result on the right side. Diagram 15. Black 1 to 7 here would have been better. Next, the players focused their study on White A, Black B, White C, and the ensuing fight. Diagram 16. Look at White 1. Why is it that even professionals choose this low, stooping knight's move instead of jumping out at A? White would not be in any immediate danger if he jumped out to A. The question is The question is one of potential, which professionals worry about a great deal. If white plays at A, black can push through and cut. That threat makes black B, etc. sente, which means white cannot hope to jump out to C. Diagram 17. A shoulder play, like white 1, is frequently used to reduce a large enemy framework. Black pushes at 2 and white answers with 3. As long as white stays ahead, satisfied with a modest reduction of black's framework, he is in negligible danger. Next, black makes the knight's move at 4, and readers who do not understand why he does so should read the next paragraphs carefully. If black plays 4 at 5 and keeps pushing, he will always be pushing from behind, and white will always be out in front. In this situation, there is no way for black to turn the tables. The wall he makes for himself is neutralized by the secure white stones laying just below. For those reasons, black does not play 4 at 5. Black 4 gives black's own stones a solid base. At the same time, it robs the white stones of their base and sets them drifting. If black omitted 4 and let white block at A, everything would be reversed, and he would be in trouble. White 1 to black 4 have become a middle game joseki. A3Q.
I always feel reluctant to play moves like white 1 because they let black make territory with white 2 to 8 in diagram 18. I would never play white 1 in this position.
I understand how A feels, but the territory in black gates with 2 to 8 in diagram 18 amounts to at most 10 points. The value of white's outer influence cannot be calculated precisely, but he does not seem to have come out behind in the exchange. Well, amateurs always tend to overestimate the importance of actual territory, but if white feels this way and just looks on without doing anything, black will enlarge his framework with 1 and next A in diagram 19, and then it will be too late. Before that happens, white has to take the plunge, pull himself together, and make some moves into black's framework. Diagram 20. The single-handed invasion at white 1 is also possible. It looks a little risky, but that depends on the whole board situation. Black's 1 space jump to 2 is the normal response. There is a saying that 1 space jump is never bad, and if both sides keep jumping all the way across the board, black gets a fair result. But wait a moment, this is the struggle to get ahead all over again. What is the point in black's jumping first if he and white are just going to go straight across the board? He may as well let white jump first. The struggle to get ahead ought to be carried out on more vigorously than this. Of course, if white ignores 6 at black A will put him in a tight spot. But black should not wait for white to make a mistake like that. He should learn to look for ways to press his 1-step advantage more forcefully. Diagram 21. The knight's move at black 1 is the key point in the struggle. If white plays 2 and 4, black keeps full pressure on him with 3 and 5. Black 1 is the move that puts black on the offensive and white on the defensive. This is where the attack begins. If black were to let white play 1, the situation would be reversed. The side that leads should have its eyes peeled for the first opportunity to shift to a knight's move and start attacking. Now that I have that marvel of civilization, a television set, in my house, I rarely go to the movies. But up until 10 or 15 years ago, I used to go 5 or 6 times a month. It was the nicest to go to the first-class theaters in the Ginza or Shinjuku, but a scarcity of pocket money often sent me to spend the day watching a triple feature in some small, dirty, cheap 3rd or 4th class theater in some unheard of place on the outskirts of town. There would be children raising a racket, adults chain smoking to their heart's content, and all sorts of odors combining into a stuffy crowd smell. Anything but a pleasant atmosphere. Many times, as I wrinkled my brow and held a handkerchief to my nose, I wonder whatever possessed me to enter such a place. But once I had accustomed myself to the frightful atmosphere, I would find myself taking a strange kind of childish delight in it. Was the man in the next seat smacking his lips over a fried cuttlefish? Then what could be more natural than to get 10 crunchy rice crackers, 5 yen apiece, and munch away on them while watching the show? Who was that shouting, "Look out, Kin-chan, Kinosuke Nakamura. There's a bad guy behind you," as this hero of the pre-teen set charged like a mad lion, surrounded by a throng of enemies. His cheering squad was composed mostly of neighborhood housewives. Surely they realized that their vocal support made no difference to the movie. No doubt they were just trying to enjoy their leisure time to the fullest. Pardon me for laughing, but the sight was just too funny for words. My whole body would shake with mirth. And pretty soon I would be joining in with this crazy crowd shouting, "That's the way!" and so on. There were faint traces of nostalgia that never seemed to leave me. I was born poor and raised in poverty. I know inside out the plan and action of the battles in which Yasube Nakayama felled 18 foes and Mataemon Araki felled 36 foes. But the enjoyment of watching the lone hero beat down a horde of enemy swordsmen never changed, no matter how often it's seen. It was just like watching one stone enter into a large enemy framework the moment before it became actual territory, and stand the enemy stones that rushed to capture it on their heads. This has been a strange way to introduce topics, but thinking about challenging enemy spheres of influence revived stale old memories which I could not restrain. Now we can return to the subject. To go from the struggle to get ahead to entering enemy spheres of influence seems to be getting a little off track, but amateurs are always bungling in the latter situation, so I want to be sure to touch upon it before I forget. Diagram 22. White enters black's sphere of influence on the right side with 1. This is an invasion, and it seems like a natural move. Those who feel no doubts about this strategy probably belong to the school that holds that the best way to play, when you see an enemy sphere of influence, is to break right into the middle of it. This is the creed of the jealousy sect. Rush right in wherever your opponent has an open extension. No one can expect to make progress with this approach. White 1 is the kind of move that sows the seeds of one's own distress on enemy ground. That same person who approves of 1 will, when he has black and white plays 1, feel as if a time bomb has been dropped inside his territory. Then he will rush out into a frenzied attack on it, steam sprouting from his ears and nostrils, and there will go his game. Diagram 23. This is a game between high-level amateurs, in the transition phase between the opening and the middle game. It is Black's turn. Where should he play? Let's hear 2 amateur answers. N. Shodan. I don't know what will happen, but seeing that White's framework is so big, Black has to invade it at A. If he lives or escapes, perhaps he can win. Of course, if he dies, he loses, but he can probably manage somehow. M. 3-dan. Manage somehow doesn't give us much to go on. Black should stick close to his own forces and work on his way slowly into White's framework with B or C. That's safer and more reasonable. Both of these answers are fairly good, but they overlook one important point. They miss the crux of the matter. The crux lies in estimating the score. One ought to think, the score stands thus, so I'll play thus. Adopting emergency measures, or just plodding along as the case requires. Whether because they do not care about the score, or whether because it's too obtruse, amateurs regard estimating it as a terrible nuisance. Many claim not to have estimated it once during their whole Go playing careers. Professionals worry about the score constantly. Even when they are playing very inconsequential teaching games, they estimate it 2 or 3 times. It becomes a habit. In extreme cases, which are not so rare in professional competition, a player will estimate the score at every single move. What a difference! Ability to estimate the score may account for a fair percentage of a professional's strength. From my own observation, I would say that it is the upper level professionals who are outstanding in this area. At any rate, knowing the score can profoundly affect the way you play. Diagram 24. White to play. How should he challenge Black's sphere of influence? Diagram 25. I dare say a large number of people would give White A or B as the answer, but White 1 is correct. Professionals know this move as a standard probe. Black may answer at C, D, E, F, or G. But to a beginner, it may seem very strange indeed, while a slightly stronger player will ask why it cannot be captured. Diagram 26. It is no mistake to think that White 1 can be captured. White's strategy is to sacrifice it, but to use the sacrifice to help himself find a way into Black's sphere of influence. White may regard the sequence up to Black 8 as forced, but then White 9 comes as another surprise. Why doesn't White connect with 9 at 10, or 1 point to the left of 10. Diagram 27. White considers his 3 stones in the upper right as forcing stones that have already done their job and need not be bothered about. This point is a little hard to grasp, but when White enters Black's sphere of influence, he must be prepared to fight on unfavorable terms. By offering a small sacrifice in the upper right corner, he has turned the odds on the right side, between Black Triangle Stone and White 1 and 3, in his favor. This way of looking at his moves may make them a little easier to understand. Diagram 28. See what happens if White connects with 1. He makes his light stones heavy, and the roles of attacker and defender are suddenly reversed. Needless to say, White's move in Diagram 27 are rather high level, and weaker players should not copy them indiscriminately. But if you can understand the essential feeling behind them and find similar moves on your own, you will have crossed another border into fresh territory, and the game will become that much more enjoyable. Professionals go to great lengths to find ways to fight back on unequal ground. Amateurs feel happy just to have broken into enemy territory. If the group lives, who cares whether it's heavy or light? This is another deep-seated difference between professional. Let's return to the original topic and close it. The following diagrams all show commonly occurring patterns, or joseki, but it might be worthwhile taking a fresh look at them from the standpoint of the struggle to get ahead. Black 1 and White 2 in Diagram 29. White 1, Black 2, and White 3 in Diagram 30. White 1 and Black 2 in Diagram 31. Are not all these stones in energetic motion struggling to get ahead? Diagram 32. The sequence starts from the corner with Black 1 and finds both sides struggling and striving in the hope of gaining domination in the center. The struggle will continue after White 10. If this is not a struggle to get ahead, I don't know what else to call it. Diagram 33. The stones are more separated and the way of thinking is much different, but there is still a sense in which both sides are fighting to get ahead. Diagram 34. This is another joseki in which White gets profit while Black gets outer influence, but it is also one in which the stones are struggling with might and main to get ahead of one another. Diagram 35. This is in the same family as the last diagram. And Diagram 36. This could be the commencement of the middle game. Black 1 to 9 are a common walking sequence. Next, the two sides will continue their struggle to get ahead, with a series of one-space jumps into the center. And there you have it, YouTube. This was chapter 4. And so next chapter, chapter 5, which we will actually be doing on Wednesday instead of Monday. Chapter 5 plus like the NHK blurb will be on territory in the spheres of influence. And this sounds like, cliche at this point, but they're all very important chapters. So I hope to catch you here live at twitch.tv/lyingguysci. But with that, thanks for tuning in. It was lovely having you here. See you later, YouTube.